And there we go. So let's just, like I said, let's just make sure everybody is muted. And let me just pull up here my PowerPoints. Okay, so first I wanted to thank our sponsors, obviously Resco, MSCRM add-ons, and RSM as well for sponsoring this event. So thank you guys so much. And then I want to talk a little bit about myself. My name is Dian Taylor. I work for RSM as a pre-sales director. And feel free to check out my blog or my tweet, I should say my Twitter, or check out my YouTube or connect with me on LinkedIn, obviously, as well. I actually am originally from the Netherlands, and then I moved to the United States about 16 years ago. Time flies, right? So that's a little bit about me, but what we're going to be talking about today is I'm going to go over some of the generic enhancements. Oh, and I have field service on that. We're not going to talk about field service. I guess I forgot to take that off. So we're just going to talk about Dynamics 365 sales, some of the changes in there, and then customer service, obviously, as well. And we have a separate track where somebody is going to cover Dynamics 365 for field service. But let's just first dive into the generic enhancements in the application. So the first thing that I noticed when I was trying this stuff out back in August, right? August 3rd, I believe, is when we were able to turn this on for early access. And I was trying to switch the application, right, from sales to customer service and stuff like that. And I couldn't find that little drop down, that arrow that we're used to, right? You can see that on the screenshot there on the left-hand side. So I'm like, okay, this is kind of weird. So the app switcher is different now, as you can see, right? That's that picture on the right-hand side. So you just have to click on the app that you're in. That's a link. And that will bring up that new app switcher, which I kind of like a little bit better because you can see there's a lot more details in that as well, right? We can now kind of see the content in here as well, the description, I should say, so that we kind of know what it's about. And then you can see there's a search icon on there as well. So if you have a lot of apps, you can very quickly kind of search for the correct app. And then you just click on that tile and that will just go ahead and load that particular app. So I really like that particular feature. Now, I noticed there's actually an additional button on the timeline, which allows users to expand everything in that timeline, all of those records, all at the same time. And I also noticed that there are some additional new options when you're clicking on that ellipse, those three dots that you see there on the right of the new button. So the options that you have there is to always show emails as conversations or to show them as individual messages. And obviously, as you're working in the system, you can change that. You can toggle back and forth between both of those options. There's some additional timeline enhancements as well. And one of them is when you search when you use that search bar in that timeline, then the results of that particular search will show the activities with those matching words, but they are going to be highlighted in the search results. So you can immediately see, right, all of the items that matched your search and also why, because it's going to be highlighted there. And we also now have the ability to add images to notes. So I thought that was really cool because a lot of time if you wanted to add an image, you would have to go to SharePoint, right, and store the image there, but you can now just drop that directly into a note and add it to Dynamics 365 that way. Then for the emails, when you open a compose window, so if you click on that create a new email button, right, you're going to notice that the form looks a little bit different. We used to have the separate tabs on the form and we don't have those obviously anymore. You can see on the screenshot here that everything is now in that same window. And you're also going to have the ability to set the body of the email. So that's where you really type in your message, right, to full screen. So that's, again, kind of highlighted on here. You just click on this little icon and that will just go ahead and load that full screen. Obviously, you need to save the record first because before you can attach a document. I was actually looking at that new email form, and then I was like, where are my attachments? Yeah, duh, you have to go ahead and make sure that you save the record first, obviously, before you can attach those documents. So we also have if you kind of highlight, if you kind of go ahead and put your mouse over this area over here, if you are clicking on that email, you're going to have the ability to provide specific email actions, right? So you can reply to the email message, you can hit reply to all. And again, you can do that now directly from within the timeline. Previously, we had to open the email, right? And then you could do that forward, reply to all, etc. But you can now do that directly from within the timeline. So once you click any of those buttons, right, you're going to have the email compose window that's going to load, obviously, if you have that turned on. And then the subject and the from and the to fields, if you hit reply or reply all, are already pre-populated. Obviously, if you do forward, you're not going to have the to fields that's pre-populated because, right, you need to still fill that out, obviously. And then when you're trying to add that attachment to an email, there's actually less clicks. So previously, when you clicked the attach email button, you would get a manage attachment window that would pop up, and then you would need to click the choose file button to get to the file explorer, upload the file, and then click close button on the manage attachment window again. So those were a lot of clicks. So now when you're actually clicking on attach file in this particular release, it's going to bypass that manage attachment window altogether, which is so much better, right? Because you don't want to have to do 5 or 6 clicks before you can add an attachment. And the other good news is that you can actually now attach multiple files all at once. So when an email, when the email attachment is clicked, it's actually going to open in a preview windows, which I think is also a very nice enhancement. So you don't have to, right, open up all of those attachments to make sure that you actually attach the correct file. So lots of great enhancements there. And then this one, everybody's laughing at me for this one, but I did wanted to show it. So you see here, there's a little back button now directly in the application, in the form, I should say, right? I used to just click on the back button in my browser, but obviously this is a lot nicer, right? And you can just do it from within that form. And then that card view button, that icon has now changed. That looked a little bit different, but it's still doing the same thing. What that means is, and I'll show you that in a demo in a second as well, is that you're just going to get a view of the records, but then you're going to be able to see that in that card view. So let's take a look at some of those things. I'm just going to go ahead and open here my Dynamics 365 instance. So the first thing I wanted to show you is, again, what we started talking about, right? We had that app switcher. So you can see that drop down is gone, right? I can't get that drop down list of those apps anymore from here. I actually have to click here on Sales Hub because that's the one that I'm in. And then this is that app switcher that you guys have seen before. We were just not able to pull it up from here, right? So this is very nice. And then if I want to go somewhere else, I just click on that tile, and then I can just go ahead and open that app. And if I want to search, see if I search, customer, no customer. Yeah, let's just click on customer, and you can see it filters out all of those apps, which is really, really easy. So now let's go ahead and let's go into accounts, and let me open up here one of my accounts. So this is that back button that I was referring to, right? It's just, I don't have to click it directly here on my browser. I can, of course, but you now have it in the form as well. And this is allowing us to pull up that view that we were just in that card view. So again, we already had that. We just had a different icon that we got to click for that. And I'm actually going to close this. So here are those buttons that I just mentioned, right? If I want to expand everything in that timeline, I can just click on that, and you can see it expands all of those emails and any other information I might have in here, right? Phone calls, etc. And if I want to collapse them again, I just click on that again. And then here are those additional options to always show the email as conversations, or to just show them as individual messages here in my timeline. Now let's also take a look at that search. I think I have issue. I cannot type this morning. So you will see that, right, the issue is kind of highlighted, so you can immediately see why that result came back, because that word is actually highlighted here on my screen as well. And this is one that I really, really like. We just talked about that. If I want to add a note, I'm just going to wait for the screen to load here. So you can use all of these different options that you have in here. And then let me expand that. And then you're going to be able to put an image in there as well, right? I can browse it from a file, or I can use a URL. Let's just go ahead and browse that. Let's go to my downloads. Let me go to my pictures. Let's just put Adam in here. And I can just go ahead and click OK, and that will put it directly here, as you can see in my note, which I think is great. And then we also talked about the ability, see if I kind of hover my mouse over here, I can now reply to all, or even forward the message. And then if I click on this, you will see that that should load. Let's see if that happens. There we go. That should load that email message. Seems to be a little slow. Let's just try that one more time. And for whatever reason, it's not doing it right now. It was working before, but let's just try reply all. There we go. So you can see here that it now loads that email message, right? And it already has the from and the to because I hit reply all. And then of course my subject. And now I can just go ahead and start responding and typing in my email message. Here's the ability to really, right, expand that or minimize that box over here. And then I can just go ahead and email that to my customer. Okay, so let's move on now from the generic updates to the sales updates. So we now have the ability to enable any entity for PDF document generations. You can select the entities if you go to the same place as before, which is app settings in the Sales Hub, and then you click on productivity tools, and then you click on manage. So from here, you're going to see a list of entities where you can check the box next to the entity, and then obviously you can just save that. And once you've done that, you're going to be able to see that button that says export to PDF on the form of that enabled entity. So we used to have that create PDF button, right? So that has been replaced to that button that now says export to PDF. And when you do click on that export to PDF button, you're also going to notice that the experience is a lot different. You're going to have a window that's going to open up, and then from there, you can select any of those available templates. And hopefully already know that these are obviously the Word templates that are configured for those entities, right? But the most important thing is that you can actually preview those results. You can also do some additional actions depending on, or like I should say, zooming in and zooming out. You can rotate that PDF, and you can even print it from the screen as well. So when you have the correct template selected, you can then either download a copy locally, you can open an email with a PDF attached, or you can save a copy to SharePoint or Dynamics 365. And you can see that's this particular button. I had some people that asked me about this, that read my articles on my blog, and they were like, hey, it's so weird. Like sometimes when I do export to PDF on a particular entity, it says save to SharePoint, and another entity, it says save to Dynamics 365. Why is that? Well, the save to Dynamics 365 option is going to show if you don't have that particular entity enabled for that SharePoint integration. So if you do have that particular entity enabled for SharePoint integration, right, then you're going to see that save to SharePoint button. So that's really what that difference is. And then another enhancement is that we now have the ability to generate PDF files programmatically by using those APIs, which I think is great. Right now we can do automation types of things and send these PDFs probably to people as well. So this is another one that's, I think, very, very excited. There's actually a new forecast template available, which is called Product Forecast. I actually had some customers asking about that. It was like, hey, instead of just getting users and sales reps performance, we would like to see our forecasting for products that we're selling. Can we do that? Well, we weren't able to do that before, but obviously now we can do that. You have to make sure that those products are actually grouped by family, because you have to pick that family field, right? So we can kind of see what falls under that. So you got to make sure that you have that set up. Now, There are some additional updates as well. If you actually have a Sales Insights license, which is the add-on to Dynamics 365 Sales, then you can now configure snapshots to be taken daily and this is going to be during a 6-hour window. So previously we would have to do this manually. And those were called, right, those labeled snapshots. We can go in there and we can say, hey, take a snapshot. And then maybe a week later, we can go back in again. But unfortunately, this does mean that that functionality is no longer there. There will also be an ability to hide the managers from their own forecast. And this would be released somewhere in October 2020. The last time I checked, it wasn't there yet, but this is part of this release of the 2020 release wave as well. So some of the other things that are coming in this particular release, and this was not in early access, so I couldn't really take a look at that. So if you have gamification in your instance, then that admin center is now actually moved to the unified interface. And again, I don't have this in my instance, so I don't know what that looks like. And I don't even know if that's done already, because some of those features are not immediately after you do the upgrade. So for example, I noticed that with the field service upgrade, the new schedule board is not there yet, but it will be installed. I actually talked to Microsoft and they said it will be installed the weekend of the 23rd. So that's just a couple of weeks, or actually it's like a week away or something like that. So some of these, again, right, we're still in October. So some of these are going to be released later this month. And then we're going to have a new Dynamics 365 mobile experience, which I think is also great because this is going to be optimized for most of the common tasks, right? We're going to be able to see your upcoming activities, your related records, and you're going to be able to make updates really quickly. And this is scheduled for public preview in October 2020. Again, I haven't seen anything on this yet, except for what I read on that docs page, right, where Microsoft is storing this information, but that's something that's definitely coming. And then quote to cash. This is an enhanced experience to add products to opportunities. I do have it in my preview currently. You basically get a different screen that pops up. But I guess it was kind of a mistake that was headed over to my instance. But according to the Microsoft documentation, that's going to be in preview in November, and that's going to be GA in January 2020, the last time I checked. So I can't wait for that one as well. And then there's going to be those simplified duplicate detection and merge capabilities also going to be released somewhere in October. I haven't checked yet if that's in my instance yet because I was checking all sorts of other things, but that's going to be a nice one as well. And then again, the forecast data, we kind of talked about forecasting earlier, right? The forecasts will now actually be written back to the Common Data Service, which is great because now we're going to be able to create dashboards and reports directly in the context of the sales application. And you're also going to be able, obviously, now to create triggers, right, by using Power Automate, which is going to surface proactive assistant cards, right? We know that the Dynamics 365 assistants, right, if something happens, we can use Power Automate to create one of those cards to really help those sales guys to meet their quotas. And then finally, an API is being made available as well to allow you to extract that forecast report into external BI systems or programmatically import simple columns like quotas from other solutions as well. So some pretty exciting stuff coming there. And if your organization has a Sales Insight subscription, this is going to be relevant to you. So what they're saying here is there's going to be a modified infrastructure for lead and opportunity scoring. So for example, the predictive score will now be stored in a new related and dedicated entity instead of directly on the lead or opportunity, because that's where it was stored before. So this is going to ensure that the last update field isn't going to be reset with every run. There will also be two new views. One of them is called My Open Lead Scored and My Open Opportunity Scored. And then lastly, on the lead entity, the lead score, lead grade, score reasons, score history, and lead score trends will be deprecated. And that also goes for the opportunity score, opportunity grade, score reasons, score history, and opportunity score trends. And there's going to be a redesigned predictive score experience. That score widget that is now going to have new styling that makes it much more intuitive. Right? When a user selects the view details, you're going to be able to get more information about that score, right? Including more explanations. And also that you can see that on there as well, the trend visualization of that score over time and helpful information about how the system actually calculated that score, right? How it got to be, in this particular case, a 96 score. And then with enhanced predictive forecasting, users will have more data available to obviously surface these useful insights. And you're going to be able to view forecast factors per prediction as well. And this is also, as you can see, it was not in early access, but it is coming somewhere in fall. And right now, it's said on the site that it was going to be somewhere in October. So let's take a look at that. I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to go back into my own environments and I'm going to go here to opportunities. And let me just search here for an opportunity number 172. Oh, I thought, oh, maybe it's not my open opportunities. Let me just go here to all opportunities, 172. This one should have some products related to it. Let's just make sure that it does. Let's see here. Yeah, so we have some products over here. And let's just go ahead and click on that export to PDF button. And it's going to load my templates. And you can see here, right, I can click here on opportunity summary and it's going to show me that preview of that particular document, right? This doesn't look really cool, but let's take a look at the RSM quote. And you can see that this looks a lot better. So from here, right, I can even print this, I can download it, and I can rotate this as well. I don't know why you would do that, but right, if you have this not looking the right way, you can go ahead and do that. And then I can obviously email this, or I can save it to SharePoint because my opportunities actually, I have that integration with SharePoint turned on, and I also have my opportunity turned on as well. And then obviously I can click here on download as well. And then we also have that forecast configuration. Let me actually show you where that is. I'm going to go to app settings. And let me first show you where you can turn on those entities for the conversion to PDF, right? You're going to go to app settings. And then here you're going to go to productivity tools. And then here you have convert to PDF. I can click on manage. And you can see here, those are all the entities that I can now turn on. If I want to see the ones that I have turned on, right, that's the way you do that. And if I want to see other ones, I can even search for them. So maybe I want to turn on work order. I can just click on that, right? And then I can save that. And now that's turned on as well. And if I scroll down here, let's take a look at the forecast configurations. So you can see here now that we have that new template here where you can do a product forecast, and you can also now go ahead and create from scratch. And I believe you can even use custom entities now as well if you want to do a forecast for those. I haven't tried that yet, but I think that that's what I read in the documentation. I'm just going to go ahead and stop here and see if there's any questions. I don't see anything yet, so I'm just going to go ahead and keep going here. So now let's talk about customer service and some of the changes that we have in there. So users can now create email templates and email signatures from within the customer service hub. So those used to be in the old legacy interface, but they now have been moved, obviously. When you're logged into the customer service hub, you can find the templates area on the bottom of the sitemap, and you can see that big arrow over there. And both email templates and email signatures, as you can see, are available from here. So both items used to be, right, as I said, in the legacy app, but now you can just go ahead and access these entities through the unified interface. And I did notice that the entitlement templates, which used to be accessible under this section, now has been moved. So just so you know, if you're looking for that, that's just somewhere else now. So when a new email template is created from within the customer service hub, you'll notice that there were some updates made. So the template type field actually has been renamed to category, and the global template type has been renamed to user. Again, I got some questions on that as well. Hey, I want to do a global template and I don't see that option anymore. Why is that? Well, that's why, right? That has gotten renamed to user. The functionality does stay the same. So if you actually view your templates in the legacy experience, you will still, that will still show as global. And if you look at the same templates in the unified interface, it's going to show as user. So that kind of shows you that it was just renamed. And then all of the other previous options are still there. So that's account, case, contact, contract as well, which is probably going to go away because those have been deprecated as well. And then we have invoice, lead, opportunity, order, quote, service activity, and system job. And there's actually one additional entity that has been added, which is the campaign activity. Now, the experience when you're editing or creating a new email template has been enriched too. So when you open the email form, you'll notice that you have access to the same rich formatting toolbar that I just showed you earlier, right? Which was in that enhanced rich email window. Now, inserting dynamic text, so that's, for example, right, to say, hey, dear first name or something like that. If you're doing that from that related record, it's also very easy from this screen. The only thing you have to do is you're just going to click your cursor in the body of that email template, and then you're going to click on the Insert Dynamic Text button, which you'll see is located on the command bar. And this is going to bring up a window from where you can pick the entity or the record type, whatever you want to call it, that that email template was configured for, right? So if you configure it for contact, you're going to be able to add the contact fields in there, right? Like their first name, their last name, etc. And you can also enter fields from an entity that's related to that main entity. Now, once that record type is selected, right, obviously, then you can add the fields that you want to use. And the field names that you're going to get to choose from are actually the field labels, which is kind of nice, right? Because you don't always know the system, the field system name. Now, users with the right security role have the ability to update the existing email templates, and they can create obviously new templates as well. And you can also create a new email template from the email compose window, because there's actually a button there that's allowing you to save that as a template. And this is kind of right what that looks like. So we can see here that old experience, and we can see here that new experience, right, from what we have now in the unified interface. And here you can see, right, those are those fields: contact, full name, value customer, right? Very similar. It's just not showing in that yellow color anymore, obviously. Now, the email signatures experience is also a lot better now that these have also moved to the unified interface. We're actually going to be able to update existing signatures and create new ones, obviously, if you have the right security roles for that. And one of the big differences here is, again, that rich formatting options, right? Again, that same experience that we have in the email templates, but also the ability to add images, which wasn't possible prior to this release. So I actually didn't even have to upload the images one by one. I just opened one of my emails from Outlook, and then I just copied my signature and I pasted it in that email signature in Dynamics 365. And you can see that I just copied all that stuff over. So that was so much easier to do, right? Not having to do that one by one. And then another great new feature, and this is a preview feature, by the way, right? So keep that in mind, is that ability to now insert a knowledge base article right into an email without the need to copy and paste it. Now, we were able to do this prior from the case record, but now there's a button on the email command bar that allows us to insert it outside of the context of a case. So when you click on the insert article button on that email command bar, then you're going to have this screen that pops open where you can actually search for the relevant knowledge base articles. And once that proper article is found, then you can just go ahead and pop it right into that email by clicking that insert article, right? It's that button right over here, insert article content into the email. And then once you do that, boom, that's what that looks like. So that is very nice that we can do that now. Now, you might remember that in 2020 release wave 1, the SLAs and automatic record creation rules were moved to the unified interface. I actually wrote an in-depth article about SLAs and how different they are configured in the unified interface. So feel free again to check out my blog if you want to take a look at that. SLAs are not the only records for which configuration has actually changed in the unified interface. This also happened for those automatic case creation, automatic record creation records as well. I had actually previously set up the automatic case creation by using a mailbox and by using those automatic record creation rules in a legacy interface. But when I try to set this up in a unified interface, I was running into a couple of issues with Power Automate. So in this release, Microsoft actually added a tool to automatically migrate your those SLAs and those automated record creation rules over from the legacy interface to the unified interface. And you can access the tool by navigating to the service management area in the customer service hub and by selecting that ARC and SLA migration, which is under data management, under the data management section. You don't have to migrate all of your rules and SLAs over. You can actually manually pick and choose the ones you want to migrate over to that new experience, but make sure that you do read that documentation before you're going to run that process. And I'm just going to mute. See here, somebody is not muted. There we go. Okay, so make sure you read that documentation, obviously. Now, there are not a lot of changes here, obviously, for that update rules enhancements. But when you navigate here, as you can see, you'll notice that there is a new button on that command bar, which is called View Activity Monitor. And when you're actually clicking this button, the user is going to be taken to a view which shows the health of those rules, and it allows us to monitor them as well. And then when a rule is successful or it fails, you're going to be able to show that here directly on that view. Okay, so there are two analytics and insights area in the customer service hub. One is actually in the service area and one is in the service management area. I'm actually discussing here this section in the service management area under analytics and insights. Now, we were already able to turn on the insights reports from here, but now the suggestions has been added here too. And suggestions, it's an AI feature helps resolve cases faster through AI suggested knowledge base articles and similar cases in the new customer service Workspace app. And that Workspace app, I'll talk about that a little bit later as well, is under preview, and so is this suggestions section, right? You can see that right on the screen. Now, you can read the details on the customer service Workspace app section, obviously on the doc side as well, but we're going to, like I said, we're going to dive into those features a little bit later in this presentation as well. And in this release, all of the legacy scheduling experience or items, I should say, has also been moved to the unified interface. When you're actually changing that area picker to scheduling, you're going to see that all of the scheduling entities are now here in the unified interface. And I have a list, as you can see, of all of those entities that were brought over. So we have now facilities and equipment, and then resource groups, service activities, sites, and then service calendar, and obviously the search availability is there as well. So the editing experience for knowledge base articles has been enhanced in this release as well. There's several formatting features that have been added to the formatting bar on the content area, and I'm not going to list all of them, but there is a lot more, like subscript, text direction from left to right and right to left, etc. There's anchors, anchor icons. I don't even know what that is. Change div containers. Again, no idea what that is, but I do know what embedding media media in an article is, right? So if you want to put that media or a video or whatever in that article, you can go ahead and do that. Now, the message that showed previously on that tab where it said this content was not generated by Microsoft and may not be secure, they got rid of that, thank God, because it was so, it wasn't really helpful, right? So they got rid of that. And then you'll also notice that some of those icons look a bit fresher than before, and the undo buttons have also moved down a little bit. And another feature that has been added is the ability to configure sections that in an article that you can collapse or expand, which is very nice, right? Now we can just access the content that is important as a user that's going through those knowledge articles. And then I also noticed that the knowledge base control on my case form has been updated a little bit. There are actually now 3 actions instead of 5. And the icons look fresher. The copy link to article and link this article to case and email customer actions have been removed. What we have now is link article to case, pop out the article in a new window, and email to customer. And that's what you see here on the screen as well. And I kind of like it. I think it looks a lot cleaner. Oh, my box is not in the right spot. But you guys understand that this is what I'm talking about here. And this is what I was just talking about earlier, right? This is that new app that became available in this new release. But keep in mind that this is a preview feature, right? So it's not really ready for production, but it really allows you to kind of play with it a little bit and see how you like it and give some feedback to Microsoft as well. Now, this app already has multi-session forms and the new CSR agent dashboard enabled. So there's nothing that you have to do for that. Now, multi-session, what that means is it's the ability to have multiple sessions open at the same time. And these tabs will open on the left side. So that's what you see over here. Those are multi-session tabs. And users can choose to open sessions also using the top tabs if they want to go ahead and do that. Now, when you log into the app, you're going to see the new customer service agent dashboard on that home screen, right? And this is, oh, it's actually said 3, it should be 4. 4 here is that home screen. If you click on that, it just takes you back to that first tab, which is your home screen. And then when you click and you hold down your shift key on your keyboard, and then you click on one of those links, that's actually when it's going to open that new session on the left side here on the screen. And then obviously you can just go ahead and click and navigate between those sessions if you click on those separate tabs. Now, if you, again, want to return to the main page, you just click on the home page, right? That's 4 over here. And when you click number 5, the icon over here, this is actually where you can pick different entities and different views, which open a new tab on that top of the screen, which you show right over here. You can also hold down the control key and then click a record, right? One of those links. And that will actually also open up a record in the top versus that side tab or that session, right? And then number 7 shows the productivity pane. Unfortunately, it's not working in my demo instance right now. It was before. Unfortunately, now all of a sudden it's not working, but that's also why I have screenshots, right, in case that happens. So you can actually see here that, well, you will see it in the next slide, but the productivity pane is a work area that has tools that support or expedite agents' tasks when they're working on these customer issues or cases. And let me just go ahead and show you that. And you can see here, we can expand that that productivity pane, and that will then show Smart Assist. And Smart Assist is an intelligent assistant that is going to give us intelligence-driven knowledge-based articles that, you know, could be relevant to the case that somebody is working on, right? And it's also going to show other cases which could be similar to the case that they're working on. Now, this productivity pane obviously is also in preview. And during this preview, the productivity pane is automatically enabled. So you don't have to do anything to turn it on. If you don't see it, then something is wrong. Like I said, it's not where I tested it this morning. It's currently not working in my environment. So I just have to see if Microsoft can tell me why that is the case. So users will see Smart Assist when they're opening a case as a new session, right? So that's, again, holding that shift key and then clicking on that particular link. You do need to enable that AI suggestions, similar cases and knowledge articles find that I just talked about earlier, which is that other preview feature. And again, you can turn this on by navigating to service management in the customer service hub and then clicking settings on their analytics and insights. And then Microsoft is obviously going to continue to add functionality to this pane, right, to make this really an assistant that can make our customer service agents to be more productive. And that's the pane. There we go. Oops, did I just go? No, that was good. So I kind of wanted to show you one of those cards, right? Kind of show you what that is. So you can see here that number 1 displays the information about the cards when they're selected. Number 2 is the title of the related knowledge article. 3 is when you click that, you're going to have some additional commands. 4 is displaying the actions that can be performed when you select on those more commands. And then 5 is an option to link the article with the case as a related article, right? 5 is a brief summary of the knowledge article that is generated by the AI model. And then 7 displays the confidence score on which the knowledge article was selected by the AI model. And the minimum confidence score is 65%. So it's always going to have 65%. Anything higher than that, obviously, is just right based on coming from the AI model. And then 8 obviously displays information on the keywords that were used by the AI model to match that article to this particular case. And then this is a similar case suggestion window, very similar, right? One is case title, displaying the title of that similar case. We're going to have the status, number 2. 3 is that summary of the case resolution that is generated by the AI model. 4 is going to be more actions that can be performed when you select those more commands. And 5 is, again, that confidence score, also with a minimum score of 65. And then 6 is the information on the keywords that were used by the AI model to match the article. And then 7, when you select it, when selected links, you can link it to the similar case, or you can remove it if it's already linked, obviously, right, depending on what we're doing here. Now, besides the new customer service agent dashboards, there's actually several new forms added to the application, and they are currently enabled for 3 entities. We actually have them for accounts, contacts, and case entities. And when you look at the name of these forms, right, so you can see that this one is called Account for Multi-Session Experience. You would probably think that, okay, so if I want to use the multi-session experience, I just need to use that form in one of my apps. Unfortunately, no, those forms don't do anything. The only thing that is different with these forms is that Microsoft cleaned them up a little bit by removing the reference panel and moving some of the fields around so that there's more room on the page for the productivity pane in that customer service workspace app. So this means that you can use any form. So if you already have case forms, you can just turn those on, right? So it doesn't mean that, again, right, if you're using this form anywhere else in a different app, that app is now going to be turned on for multi-session. Microsoft is working on giving us the ability to configure other apps for multi-session as well, but this way, again, this is not currently something that is available. And then some additional enhancements and features. We're going to have more reports for customer service managers, and you can see here as well historical topic clustering. Topics are a concept of AI generated data that automatically groups similar issues and cases together. So this is going to give you a full review of the KPIs, and then KB Insights, allowing organizations to get a better view on what CSR are searching for in that knowledge base, right? Which is kind of nice. We're going to be able to see which articles might be needed for customers, and the Knowledge Search Insights reports has the following metrics to inform improvements to the support knowledge base. So we're going to be able to track the search term volume, the search term average click position, engagement rates, top search terms by volume, and other KPIs, and obviously searches that return no results or with low engagement rates, so that we kind of know what some of those articles are that are missing, right? That people are searching for, but that's not there. And this one is kind of cool. I think this is already available now. It wasn't in the early release. Obviously, we're now going to have a rich text control, and that's the rich text control is what we also saw on the email, right? That body, where if you have a multi-line text field, you can just add that control. I think it's one of those controls that we can just very quickly add. But again, those are for the multi-line text fields. So let's go ahead and demonstrate customer service right now. I have it open right over here. So let's first of all open an email message, and let me show you that insert. Here we go. So here is that insert knowledge base article, right? So I can just go ahead and click on that. And remember, this is that preview. So I'm just going to go ahead and search for travel. And of course, now it's not finding anything. This is why I would like to have a list, right? Instead of just travel. Oh, here we go, booking travel. Okay, so I can preview that in here. And then if I'm ready to insert that, I can click on insert article content, and you can see, boom, it just puts it directly in my email, which is really nice. So now let's take a look at the service management section. I'm just going to go to that service management area, and we can discard those changes. And let me see here. Here are my case settings. So what I want to do here is I want to click here on automatic record creation. So here we can see that activity monitor, right? I can just go ahead and click on that. And you can see that now takes me to a different view where I should be able to see those rules. Now, this is, again, just a demo instance that I have for this purpose. So there's nothing really in there right now. And let's go ahead and then under, let me see here, analytics and settings, right? If you click on here, this settings, this is again in preview. This is where you turn on those suggestions, right? So that we can actually use that productivity pane in this particular customer service workspace. So this is where you turn that on. And then you can see, right, that this actually is going to run on a daily basis, comparing, right, those knowledge articles and your cases. And this is where you can set up some of the data mapping as well, which it tells you right here, right? The AI model learns from the summary and the details of those cases, and then it could very quickly come up with those suggestions. And then let's take a look under data management. This is what I was talking about earlier. This is that migration tool, right? You can see here that I have no roles to be migrated, but I have 2 SLAs that I might want to migrate. So make sure that you actually click on this and read this step-by-step guide. And then you can just go ahead and click start migration to, right, migrate that stuff over. And let me actually now, let me open up that new app that we just looked at. Here is my customer service workspace. Again, this is a preview, right? So the way that this works, this is the new dashboard that actually comes with that. You can see it's right over here. And what I can do now is I can just hit my shift key, and then I can click on that, and that opens up, as you can see, that particular case in that session. Now I should have my productivity pane here. Again, I'm not sure why it's not there. This was working yesterday, but you know, stuff happens, right? Again, this is just in preview. And then if I want to go back, I just click on home. If I want to go ahead and add some additional sessions, I hold down my shift key, right? And I can very quickly switch back and forth. Now, if I go and I hit the control key on my keyboard, I can hit control, click on it again, and now we can see that it opens on the top over here. And I can also, if I click on this, right, I can add other stuff here as well. Email templates, I can go to accounts, I can go to queues, or I can just go to a list of cases from here as well. So you can see, and again, right, I can just hold down shift, click on that, and again, it opens that in that separate session over here. It's just like I said, it's too bad that we can't see here the productivity pane on the side. Let me just see if there are any questions from you guys. Just go to the chat. Oops. There was an enhancement to global search on wave 2, but I couldn't find any change after. I have not seen anything in regards to global search on wave 2, so that is new to me. Is the export PDF functionality also available for customer service? Well, let's take a look at that. Do I even have that enabled? That is a good, I don't think I have any. That's a really good question. I think it fell under sales. So my guess is that if you don't have a sales license, you're probably not going to see that. But again, I am not 100% sure on that. Let's just take a look here. I think I have accounts. It's probably, let me just go ahead and see here. I don't even know if I have this enabled, but let's take a look. Let's see if we have the button over here. Export to PDF. So it is here. But again, I don't know if that is because I actually have a sales license in here as well. That is a really good question. But Microsoft actually put it under the sales. Here we go. It looks like it's there. But again, it might be because I have a sales license. Good question. And then will there be any additional cost involved in using the Workspace app? Microsoft hasn't said anything about that yet because it's also still in preview, so we don't know yet. Can service team members use the Workspace? Again, this is still in preview, so there is no licensing for this yet. My guess is it's probably not going to be, because if you have read about the changes that they made the last time, I think it was the last time, wave 1, team licenses, if you use team licenses for cases, you couldn't work on cases, right? You could basically only use cases internally. So you could submit a case as a person. So think about a help desk, but you couldn't work on customer cases. So my guess is that service team member licenses, they're not going to be able to do anything again, right, with that. They might be able to access it, but they can't work on it, and they can't submit stuff on that. I guess test would be spin trial with only customer service app and see if, yes, that's a really good point, Karim. I think so too. It's probably the best way to test that because we don't know, right? And again, I have all the licenses in this particular instance, so I am not 100% sure. But you guys have great feedback. So let's go here to the last slide. Guys, don't forget that we actually have surveys. If you guys want to go ahead and submit that survey, I'm going to actually drop that here in the comments. Please, 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 we would love to hear from you guys so we can make future events even better. And keep in mind that we're going to you guys, every time that you submit a survey for a session, that's going to be one entry, right, for that $50 gift card. But you have to make sure that you're present at the end, right? You have to be on that call to make sure that you can claim your prize. So thank you guys so much. I really appreciate your time. And again, here's a survey again, which I also put in that Teams chat as well. And again, thank you guys so much for attending, and we'll hope to see you at the next session.